Hello and welcome to a new tutorial. In the last episode we showed you how to move the player, but we still have one more problem. Go to player and in the collision detection make it continuous, and in interpolate make it interpolate.
Continuous detection will make the rigid body detect collision even if moving in a high speed. Interpolate will avoid any laggy movement.
Now that's out of the way, let's start implementing the jump function in our player script. Go to our player controller script, create a new function called jump. Then let's create a float, we call it jump power or jump height, as you wish. This value will control how high we want our player to jump. Now go to our jump function and type rb.velocity equal to vector2.up and then multiply it by the jump height or the jump power.
Vector.up is just a shortcut to write vector 0 and 1 in the y-axis. So when we multiply it by the jump height, we are just adding a value in the y-axis for the player.
Now go to the update function and let's do a check if we press the spacebar, so we can call the jump function whenever we press the spacebar. To do this check, just type if input.getKeyDown keycode space. This will check if we press space every frame, and inside the curly bracket we type our jump function. Now that's all for the jump function, and our player should be able to jump now. Let's go back to the editor, go to our player and change the jump power to something like 10. And yeah, now we are able to jump. The jump is very slow, so let's increase the gravity from the rigid body to D. This should make our player jump faster. So our player can jump, but we still have a small problem. We can't jump in the air, and we can jump infinitely. So let's fix this by telling Unity to jump only when we are in the ground by doing a ground check. Go to scene view, click on the player and create an empty game object. And let's call it ground check. Drag it to the bottom of the player. This object will check if we are colliding with the ground. Make sure the object is a child of the player. Remember the ground layer that we created in the first episode? Now we're gonna use it to tell Unity what is ground and what is not ground. To create it, just click on the ground object in your game or anything that you want your player to be able to jump in. Click on add layer and name it ground. Select your ground object and change the layer to ground.
We make an empty object in the bottom of the player that will cast a circle around him, and it will check if the circle is overlapping with the ground layer. If it is, so we know our player is grounded, then we can jump.
Let's go back to our controller script and let's do this check before jumping. First let's add a public layer mask, we call it ground layer, and the public transform, call it ground check. Now go to your jump function, and before jumping we're gonna create a boolean and we call it is grounded. So this will return true if we are in the ground and false if we are in the air. Then we're gonna do a check. So we do is grounded equal to physics2d dot overlap circle, and in the parentheses we type in ground check dot position and 0.2 as a radius of the circle and ground layer.
Physics2d overlap circle is a function that checks if we are overlapping with the layer that we choose, and it will return true or false. It has three parameters, A, B, and C. A is the position of the circle that it will draw, B is the radius of the circle, and C is the layer that we want to check if we are overlapping with. In our case, the position of the circle is the empty game object that we created in the feet of the player and called ground check. And B, the radius of the circle, I choose 0.2 because I think it's a good value and it's enough to check if we are in the ground. C is the layer that we created and we call it ground. So it will check if we are overlapping with the ground layer by drawing a circle in a certain position with a certain radius. If it is overlapping, it will be true, and is grounded is true. And if is grounded is true, so we can jump.
Now let's check if is grounded is true. We type in if is grounded, and we copy the function of jumping inside the curly brackets. So if grounded is true, the code will run. If not, it will return. Go back to Unity, select the player and drag and drop the ground check in the transform, and the ground layer will be ground. Now when we hit play, we're only able to jump when we are in the ground.
If you like this video and find it helpful, support my channel by leaving a like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any question. This is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.